Hi guys, my throat is feeling a little bit better, so I'm gonna get on here and tell you what I think about this motion real quick. Bear with me, I will have to pause to drink my honey tea while I'm going along here. Okay, so Ann Taylor has filed an objection to the state's motion to compel motive of defense of alibi, or alternatively to bar certain evidence. So what does that mean? It means that she gets to allude to an alibi within this objection without actually having to give an alibi. Very slick. I called my attorney friend, and that's the explanation that he gave. I'm going to read a couple of things on my notes. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start reading this, and then I'll interject in a couple of places. All right, comes now Brian C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney of record, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, and hereby, I love there's an extra and in there, objects to the state's motion to compel motive of defense of alibi, or alternatively to bar certain evidence. So the state is saying that they want his alibi, or they want the judge to not even allow him to present any alibi evidence at trial. She's trying to get around that. Idaho Code 19519 and ICR 12.1 require an alibi disclosure of a specific location with a specific location and witnesses to so testify. This is extra. Okay. By statutory definition, Mr. Kohberger may remain silent, yet testify that he was not at the 1122 King Road, November 13th, 2022. However, in an abundance of caution and recognizing the court has authority to exclude witnesses, Mr. Kohberger has indicated he anticipates corroborating witnesses. He anticipates corroborating witnesses. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read all this because this is where they're just citing different cases. Talks about that it's an error for a trial court to exclude a witness based solely on later disclosure without analyzing whether the state would suffer prejudice. There's just a lot of legalese in here I don't really need to read, but you can pause it right here if you'd like to read all of that, if you'd like to. Okay. Mr. Kohberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone. That's why I picked this background song, isn't it perfect? Often, he would go for drives at night, in cars. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th, 2022. Okay. Mr. Koberger is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. And at this time, there is not a specific witness to say precisely where Mr. Koberger was at each moment of the hours between late night, November 12th, 2022, and early morning, November 13th, 2022. He was out driving during the late night and early morning hours of November 12th to 13th, 2022. That's his alibi. He was just out driving. Okay, so you know what that tells me? They know. They have already seen all of the proof that they have his car definitively on camera in the immediate area. So he's gonna just say, I was out driving, so I like to drive alone at night by myself, no witnesses, and turn my phone off. How crazy does that sound, y'all? I think this is also going to try to be an attempt to show that, yeah, he was there, he was right by the house, he was circling around, but he was just driving. He was just out for a drive, just happened to have his cell phone off, just happened to be right there at the right time in his car and then speed away right after. The PCA does state that the vehicle sped away. So, this is his explanation for that. So weak. I mean, I haven't heard a worse alibi since Alex Murdaugh. It goes on to say, counsel for Mr. Koberger is aware that case law broadens the definition of alibi with the statutory requirement of a specific location to more broadly include disclosure of information that tends to state the person claiming alibi was at a place other than the location of an offense. And then the very next sentence, Mr. Koberger has complied to the extent possible at this time. Okay. Those two sentences are contradictory because he could provide a lot more information, but his only story is he was out driving around. No big deal. It wasn't me. I need to add a clip for it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. He has complied to the extent possible at this time. Alright, so it goes on to say, corroboration of Brian Koberger not being at 1122 King may be brought out through cross-examination of the state's witnesses. Do you notice they've removed the statement before alluded to their own expert witnesses, and I don't see that here. Maybe it's further, but I don't see it here. I notice that that's missing. And you have to be really careful when you're reading stuff from an attorney. It says maybe. It doesn't say it will. It just says it may be. They're hoping that somebody's going to mess up on the stand. That's all this means. At this time, Mr. Koberger cannot be more specific about the possible witnesses and exactly what they will say. Well, no shit, Sherlock. They haven't testified yet. They've only seen the reports, the police reports, and the witness statements. What happens on the stand? Nobody knows exactly what anybody's going to say on the stand. It goes on to say, the defense has been hampered by the state's own choices. The state chose a secret grand jury rather than the planned preliminary hearing. Had the state moved forward with the preliminary hearing, the defense would have had an opportunity to develop testimony through cross-examination and witness presentation. Develop testimony? That's that's when they take something that you say and they twist it around, and they'll say, didn't you just say blah, blah, blah? Aren't I right? And they try to trip people up on the stand. So that's what they're talking about. However, I will agree, I would have much preferred to see a preliminary hearing than a grand jury. But it is what it is. And he still has no alibi. It goes on to say, instead the defense has only received, on July 27th, 2023, a copy of the testimony the state chose to elicit. I thought they got that back on the 14th. Is that not right? I'm going to have to look at the case file again. Review of such is underway. The defense had to obtain investigative materials from the state's investigative counterparts, the FBI, through an order compelling the state to provide such materials. The state made draft disclosures just 2 weeks ago. Okay, so they did receive the disclosures 2 weeks ago. They're kind of alluding that maybe it wasn't all there. This and this is kind of contradictory. So I knew that they received disclosures 2 weeks ago. And I have not read through this entirely yet. I just watched a couple of friends' lives on it and thought I'd just go and make a quick video. That's really strange, isn't it? So it would be interesting to see what was in the draft disclosures versus what was in this on the 27th. Okay, it goes on to say, corroboration of Bryan Kohberger not being at 1122 King may be brought out through expert witness presentation. Okay, so there it is. They're going to challenge the state's forensic download of the devices and the cell phone pings and such. And again, there's that maybe, because they don't know. They're just hoping that they're going to poke holes in the state's case. I'm going to say it, they're going to pull an OJ defense, really. When it comes to how the defense team handles the trial. Sounds exactly like what Shapiro and them did. It goes on to say, that analysis is underway. The defense has been diligently working to analyze relevant discovery materials and conduct its own investigation. Notably, the defense had to obtain a court order to receive relevant discovery materials. That delay hampers the defense investigation. Okay. And then they cite, this one's short enough to go ahead and read. They're quoting Taylor versus Illinois from 1967. Okay. The right to offer the testimony of witnesses and to compel their attendance if necessary is in plain terms the right to present a defense, the right to present the defendant's version of the facts as well as the prosecution's to the jury so that it may decide where the truth lies. Just as an accused has the right to confront the prosecution's witnesses for the purpose of challenging their testimony, there we go, he has the right to present his own witnesses to establish a defense. This right is a fundamental element of due process of law. Exactly. They are going to attack the crap out of every witness that comes up, including the victims and survivors. And that, I don't like the sound of that. I don't know about you. But, I mean, I've always said I do have a lot of questions about that block of time that we don't know anything about and exactly what Dylan saw. But I've always said I think we're going to all hear exactly what she saw and heard and did and how she felt and what happened afterwards, as well as whatever happened with Bethany with whatever she may have heard and seen. I think they both heard and saw a lot that we just don't know about. And I think that issue will be made very, very clear in court. I wonder how much they're going to get attacked. And if they are able, if the defense is able to impeach them successfully, that's going to be really both interesting and hard to watch, you know? Okay, so it goes on to say the defense acknowledges a vast amount of discovery has been provided. So, a vast amount of discovery. So, the discovery is received on a nearly weekly basis. The defense reviews and acts on the discovery as quickly as possible, including making appropriate supplemental requests for discovery. Okay, so they have already provided, as of last week, somebody had up a video, I believe, that said the total so far is 51 terabytes. They're still exchanging information and data back and forth, like Ann says, on a weekly basis. So it's probably larger than that by now. Alright, it continues. The state's motion is an attempt to force the defense to open its work product files and let the state peek inside. Whew, spicy. The defense has stated all that can be firmly be stated at this time. This is not trial by ambush from the defense. I don't even know why she says this. This is not trial by ambush from the defense? Okay, if you say so. This is the defense requesting information as quickly as possible, yet in some instances face the delay of requesting a court order to obtain information. The state continually uses those opportunities to attempt to force a waiver of speedy trial. That is a decision left to Mr. Kohberger and Mr. Kohberger alone. Alright, and then she goes a little bit more into the alibi information again, saying Mr. Kohberger was out driving alone. Corroborating evidence may come from cross-examination of state's witnesses. Corroborating evidence may come from presentation of defense experts. So again, you know, of course we're going to hear it's going to be a long day or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 when we get to all of the cast information, all the data and downloads and cell phone pings and Wi-Fi touches and all of the technical information is going to take a long time, and this gal's going to challenge every bit of it. Okay, Mr. Kohberger is aware of and will comply with his continuing duty to disclose information. Then it says the court may exempt Mr. Kohberger from further inquiry. Mr. Kohberger requests such an exemption at this time. Why would they ask for him to be exempt from further inquiry as to, because he has a continuing duty to disclose information. I don't think the judge is going to grant any kind of exception or exemption at this time. No way. Alright, so it says continued inquiry at this juncture delves into this case investigation as well as protected work product. In support of an exemption, Mr. Kohberger is prepared to provide further detail in an ex parte hearing with the court. Now, this is the most interesting part of this whole thing. I asked my attorney friend about this, and he said what they're trying to say is that Mr. Kohberger and the defense attorneys would meet with the judge alone and tell him or her things that the other side doesn't get to hear. It would be ex parte, which just means only one side and the attorneys and the judge, not the other side. So they're asking for a private meeting with the judge. Wow. And that is the end of it. And I don't even know if we're going to find out if she gets that. But I bet you the state has already seen this and said, oh, hell no. You know what I mean? Whew, that's crazy. Now, it's just important to keep in mind that Ann Taylor is just doing her job. She is providing a vigorous defense and preserving any issues for future appeal. Like I said earlier, though, this is the worst alibi that I have heard since Alec Murdaugh. And now I'll say just a little bit about all of the misinformation and rumors and BS going all over the place every day on YouTube from people like Kim, whoever she really is, and Dot, Braden, Lana, all of those who've already picked a side and putting out information that is slanted, misleading, a bunch of hearsay, a bunch of guesswork, and it is very infuriating to see it. Those spreading misinformation and rumors and blatant lies about this case, the suspect, the victims, survivors, and all of their friends and family have muddied all of the waters. All the waters are muddied. It's hard to tell when you go into a chat room what's what. When I go into a live and I look at the chats, at least every few minutes, I will see something like, they still can't prove he was in the house, or the only DNA they have is on the sheath. That could have been planted, along with all of the rumors that have been spread around that, right? Or things like, I'm trying to think of a few that I've seen. What if he really was only out driving alone, circling around for no reason? How does that prove anything? And my favorite, his phone was off. They can't prove where he was or wasn't. So, an honorable mention is going to go out to, but don't forget about the girls when they walk down the street. And she says, what did you tell Adam? I told Adam everything. That proves that it wasn't Brian. It had to be, insert any name that's been thrown out there so far. Just pick somebody that has been accused and just insert them there. Hoodie Guy, Jack D, whatever. Just insert one of those names. And that's going to be who goes there that I've seen in chat. Again, this objection, I should say, I believe it proves that they have the right car. This motion, or objection, again, I keep calling it a motion. To me, it proves that. They can put his car, his phone, and the knife at the scene at the correct time of the unalivings, and then his car speeding away. This, I was out driving, is the defense's Hail Mary at this point. That's really all I got to say about this objection. Really look forward to hearing more motions, more information, more responses from the state, because this is now the second one that the defense has filed, and we don't see a response to the previous one. So all of us have been like refreshing the page constantly. I do want to say, if anybody else is checking the case and you see anything new, you haven't heard about it yet, or if you want to send me a tip about that or anything else, my email is CrimeSleuthin@yahoo. Send me an email. The email address is on my About page. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what you think about this alibi that's a non-alibi. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Often he would go for drives at night. Yeah, that reminds me. Often he would go for drives at night. This is a guy who, he probably did this, right? I mean, I'm not going to convict him yet, but it doesn't sound good, does it? That this is his alibi. that he was out driving during the late night or early morning hours. He had a day job. What was he doing out at 4 o'clock in the morning, just taking a drive? It doesn't make any sense at all. What else was he often doing while he was out on these drives at night? Can you imagine? Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this, and if you have not yet hit the like button, please go ahead and do that for me. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I will see you next time.